Good morning. I am Karan Walker, the Marketing Administrator for the School of Fine Arts, bringing you something new today. We have an interview with one of our amazing alums, Adetinpo Thomas.
Mhm.
She graduated in 2015, an MA in acting. That was her focus, but she's so much more than that. A filmmaker, a narrator. You've probably seen her in The Color Purple, Black Lightning, and a number of other projects, and more to come very soon. So without further ado, please welcome Adetinpo Thomas.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Of course. Uh, I'm just so happy to meet you. We've been talking a lot through our social media, through the UConn SFA page. I am the one behind it primarily right now. So great to meet you in person for sure.
Mhm. Very much.
So yeah, thank you. You came from California. Uh,
Mhm.
you went to University of Georgia, and you ended up at UConn. Can
Mhm.
you tell me a little bit just about that? How'd you end up here at UConn School of Fine Arts?
Oh, that's a great question. I grew up in LA actually, and my family moved to Georgia when I was in high school. I went to UGA and studied business and the and theater, but ended up with the theater degree, which is a funny story if you ever want to know. But ultimately, I found myself, I was genuinely in Italy. I was in Italy, like being a nanny.
Okay.
A friend of mine had gotten into an Ivy, like one of the big, like really, really popular, um, like highly respected programs. And I remember looking at that and I was like, that's a great idea. Like I should audition for grad school. And I auditioned for a couple years in a row, like really striving for one particular program. But ultimately, I found out about URDAS, which is pretty much any school that has a repertory program. And then I narrowed it down to like only pay attention to the schools that will pay you to be there because it doesn't make sense to end up in like six-figure debt for a degree for an industry that you didn't need to finish high school to be in.
Hmm.
So when all was said and done, I ended up auditioning, and it was Karen Riker and Dale Rose, and I met them in Chicago, and the rest is history. Then I ended up in the program and finished in 2015.
That's an amazing story. I mean, I would never have pictured you saying you were a nanny in Italy. I mean, that's its own interview in itself. I'm sure that was a lot of stories there, but we'll focus on the acting.
Okay, yes, yes. For the next one.
For the next one, that's right. And so how would you say UConn School of Fine Arts shaped your career? You mentioned a few names. Were there any one that stuck out to you, like a certain mentor or someone that really influenced you directly during your time here?
What I actually found was super impressive was that every professor that I had was deeply skilled in their specificity, in their niche, right? So the accent teachers were some of the most respected people in the program. Our movement teacher studied at Lecoq, the other one studied with Laban. Like, so everybody, I think, equally poured into all of us in such a way that I felt like I had so many new tools and such like a toolkit to step out into the world with, which absolutely I think helped when it came to my own acting and then in the real world and having to be like on set and things are getting thrown at you and you're like how do I do this and to be able to kind of ground myself and I have a significant amount of training that is invaluable, so it provided a lot of confidence and then of course just the skill to actually move forward and then feel successful as I was doing it.
No, that's amazing. That confidence that definitely reads through the screen for sure. When you're acting and you've been through this speaking right now, I can see that.
Oh, thanks.
And so from UConn, and then you had the experience and all of these great things going on. And you like I said, you've done a lot with Color Purple, Black Lightning, and even had international recognition with a couple of projects, Clean Slate and The Earth Will Not Swallow Us.
Mhm.
Correct? Can you tell us a little bit about that? First of all, international recognition at these festivals. I mean, that's mind blowing.
Yeah, it's I think people are so scared to try things. There's absolutely a contingent of folks who have been raised in such a way where the no is like the most frightening thing that could happen. And in my mind, I'm going, the worst thing they'll say is no. Um, and then also the way taxes in this country are set up, I was going to be in Italy anyway, for one of these projects. And I mean, I was going to be in Italy anyway while one of these was going through the festival circuit. So I was like, let me just see what Spain's talking about.
Okay.
we got into a festival in Spain, so I just unfortunately had to like extend my trip and then go to Spain and then like spend time there and go to this film festival, the Love and Hope International Film Festival specifically with Clean Slate, which was really cool. Um, all jokes aside, I think it is really affirming to know that the work you're making resonates with people across cultures, across languages. Um, what I really appreciated about that specific festival was just how welcome everyone was. I was sitting next to folks. I actually bumped into somebody I knew from Atlanta in Spain at this festival, but
Oh,
also the kids who were
wow.
sitting in front of me were college students that were like studying abroad, and you could tell people were from all over. And the beauty of storytelling is that the stories at their core are universal, right? People want to be loved, people want to be understood, people need community, people need to engage with nature. And that story could be in Swahili or Japanese. And as long as there are subtitles, people will find something to connect to. So that was really affirming as a storyteller to be able to go and be, I think we got one into Paris as well.
Hmm.
So just being able to tell stories here, there, and everywhere. It was really cool. It was really cool.
That's amazing. And it just, it sounds like that just really was like your thing. You weren't scared. Like you said, you're not afraid for the word no or for rejection. And that can be something that I think many people fear, especially in the entertainment industry, and especially as a Black woman in that industry. Did
Mhm.
it ever play any factors in your mind of wanting to be accepted or anything like that? Or
I very luckily was like 90% born like this. My confidence is never really anything I've had to struggle with, which is just considering the context of the vessel that I am in is as astronomical is it's statistically an anomaly, I think.
Mhm.
Um, I think, and just to backpedal for a moment, it's not that I'm not afraid of no. I just push through the no anyway, right? Bravery is not in the absence of fear, it's in spite of it. And I think it was just kind of like a brave thing to do. Because also being Nigerian, the expectation of being like a lawyer, doctor, accountant is still present actually.
Yeah.
Um, but I've decided like, no, this seems to be by force. Like this is the direction I need to be going in. But when it comes to feeling rejection, as a woman or as a Black person, I think I'm starting to really see because you're when you're younger, you're like, oh my God, anything can happen. I can do everything. I'm going to be on everybody's screen and everybody's stage playing all kinds of roles. And now, as I'm getting a little bit older and stepping a little bit further into my career, I do see the limitations that are being placed on what I can do. And that's been interesting to process. And that's what kind of bleeds into creating your own work so that you still have that creative outlet. And then also have an example of like, y'all didn't think I could, but like, look at me now.
Yes,
So that is also, I think, something people need to keep in mind. It is not an easy thing to make your own work, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't try.
absolutely. How was it being a filmmaker compared to being an actor? Because filmmaking came first for you.
No, no, not at all.
Oh, okay.
I literally only, so I'm an actor producer. The
Yeah.
only reason I'm a producer is so I can act. I actually lament about this all the time because people are like, oh, do you write and direct and you want to do this and do that? And I'm like, I really just want to act.
Hmm.
I really just want to act.
Want to ask, so it just came.
But
Yeah.
but as an actor that you have from the outside looking in, you are one of the most important people there. In real life, you're one of the least significant people. Because outside of you being in front of the camera, your voice means very little outside of maybe a suggestion about like how your hair looks or what you're wearing or what you think your character would feel. But ultimately, the final say goes to producers or director or studio or network, right?
Hmm.
So being able to create my own things is really empowering because you get to have a say in what the character is doing or how the story goes. And even then, you might be grabbing somebody else's script and then building from that. It can be disheartening
Mm.
to only act and not step into a little bit of what is going to give you some of your power back. Because having a master's in acting, which again, I did not need to finish high school to do. So it was a strong choice. It was a really strong choice. Um, but to step into acting, having been on stage, having played, these monumental roles, captivated an audience for hours at a time. When you step into film and television, at the very beginning, it's like one word, one line,
Hmm.
and everything you've learned, it's like you don't even really like exist. I've had people say, and it's true, honestly. So if anybody's looking for acting advice, one of the first things when you're doing one line, one word co-star auditions is if your job is barista, that's it. It's, sir, here's your coffee. Finn, not, I, sir, here's your
And
coffee.
make it a
Like,
dramatic way. Here
you
is
know what I'm saying? Like, it's not
all
about you.
things. Yeah.
And I think when you're these coffee people, you're, you're ridiculous. But yeah, look, you want to show everything you have because you feel like this is your chance. But until you get a little further into it, you don't understand what part of the story you're serving. And at that size of a role, sometimes it can be monumental, right? Viola Davis's first Oscar nomination, first Oscar nomination was for like a 10-minute scene she had in a movie, which was Doubt opposite Meryl Streep. But like still, like it wasn't her, she wasn't the lead of this movie. This movie wasn't about her. It was genuinely, I think, like one or two scenes got her the nomination.
Wow.
When it's one line, one word, sometimes those are the hardest things to book because when I was doing those kinds of auditions, I would get 10, 15 in a month, which is pretty solid.
Hmm.
It was always open ethnicity, open gender, like 17 to 80. So
Big
thousands of
change.
people. Yeah, so thousands. I mean, it being you was like luck of the draw, truly. And it took me years to book that first one. And after I did that first one, I think I did the second one within like 6 months. And then like 3 months from that, I booked Black Lightning, which was an 8 episode arc.
Right.
But you just need somebody to like take a chance on you. So there are no small parts, but it takes a second to realize the weight you're going to have in the story. And stepping further into your own storytelling gives you that like satiation until it's time for someone else to approve of you to put you on their screen as well.
All right. Thank you for sharing your story because I think, just anyone who wants to go into the entertainment world, especially those recent graduates or those upcoming
Mhm.
graduates, you said it took you years to get that first small part, but then
Mhm.
it started getting easier for you, but you had to work the grind and really do what you had to do.
And imagine too if it took me years to get that first line and I had a master's. If I was just learning like in real time, taking a class here, taking a class there, and people do this, and I'm not knocking it at all,
Hmm.
but being able to say I had conservatory style training for years and made it possible for me to go from one line and then 3 months later, one line, and then 6 months later, 8 episodes because I had the skill set for that 8 episodes when I was still auditioning for one word things, but I didn't have the proof that I could do it. So that's another thing with the content creation is that here's the proof.
Hmm. Makes sense. Wow, really carving that lane out for yourself. And,
Mhm.
so filmmaking, acting, and now narrating.
I know.
You're narrating a book. It is The Maid and the Crocodile. It's in this magical city, and it is a young Black woman character. Could you
Mhm.
tell us a little bit about the book?
Yes, so it is written by Jordan Ifueko. She is a delightful human being, an incredible storyteller. This book exists in the Raybearer universe, and the Raybearer is a duology versus like a trilogy. Um, and it is not a part of that story, it doesn't continue that story, but characters are kind of cross-referenced, right?
Hmm.
Maid and the Crocodile is a story about, and Jordan puts this really well. I wish I had like memorized it verbatim, but it's a disabled young Black woman with vitiligo who's also an orphan who finds that the best way for her to find a place for herself financially and literally like sleeping inside is to be a maid. She happens to be a maid that can like clean people's sins and change their destiny because of it. And she starts to get stalked by a god because he has a curse that he thinks she can help him cure.
Wow.
Right. So the plot
Heavy.
is, but it's a really lovely story. I think at this point I read it like 4 or 5 times over, and it is so heartwarming. There's romance, there's friendship, there's revolution, and you really see the complexities that exist in people. And I think that's something that's can be really challenging in any story to
Mhm.
have so many people that need to have a full personality, but all you're learning about them is a line of dialogue at a time here or there, or what somebody else is saying about them. But
Yeah.
you really Jordan builds this pantheon of people to connect with, which I think is also really cool. It's a quick read.
Yeah.
Well, rather, the book is so enticing that people can't put it down, so they read it fast.
Yes. Oh, come on now.
Jordan is that girl, but the book itself is, it's really, really lovely, honestly.
It sounds it sounds great. I can't wait to read it myself. Are you narrating multiple characters, the main character?
So I narrate the whole book, and luckily for me, it's from first person perspective.
Ah,
So
okay.
I am narrating this pantheon of characters.
Wow.
So from the maid to the crocodile and everybody in between. And that is a whole journey in itself. I have so much respect for narrators because it's not an easy thing to sit down for. This book is 11 hours and 10 minutes long. And
Hmm.
I think I had 25 hours to record it, which doesn't leave a lot of room for error, especially when you're not counting like bathroom breaks and lunch breaks and
Yes.
maybe they're a little later, just needing to like stand up and like stretch your legs. Um, I know what it has taken for me to get to the level of talent that I am reaching towards as an actor. So I
Mhm.
wanted to hold that same respect for the narrators as well. So the recon I was able to do, the research, the folks that I was able to like ask questions and talk to really gave me a good idea of what I was signing up for real. And then being able to actually do it on this side of things, I'm like
Mhm.
really proud of myself, but also I'm like, I haven't listened to it yet.
No, not yet.
I've listened to like chunks and I was like, okay, like I still, I still stand by that. But I know it's only the beginning and I look forward to, the more and more opportunities that will come to keep getting better. But it meant a lot to me to do right by Jordan with this because the story takes place in like a West African nation and my people are
Okay.
from Nigeria.
Right.
So being able to do the accents and to kind of lean into the culture and really make that come alive was such an honor and a pleasure.
Wow, that's amazing. So you're doing accents, you're narrating the whole book. So
Mm.
it seems like all of these years of training plus, your experience have really trained you for this part for something different. But it sounds like it was enjoyable, a good challenge.
A good challenge for sure, because it's not the same as acting on camera. It certainly requires just as much acting, but it's different when it's just your voice. You can't like make a face to, exchange some sort of emotion with your eyes. It's not about like what your clothes are doing, your hair to help build this character. Like it's really just like, what is your voice doing to tell this story, which as an actor is really exciting because that part, like the nerdy part of acting is what I think is so fun. Is like how are people made up? Like what makes them the way they are? Is it that random thing that happened in second grade that now informs the way they communicate, specifically with like chefs or something weird,
Right, right.
People contain multitudes. So being able to go, okay, this character, let me think of a specific character. One of the characters is described as a dream, like she's dreamy. She's a literally she makes dreamscapes like she wants to tell stories and like perform on stage but she's a dancer and the way her voice sounds versus another character who's like really determined but kind of arrogant is very different
Mhm.
and it was cool to sit and like try to figure out like what to do and like okay and then also annotate and make notes for myself so I remembered which character was which because let me tell you it's one thing to be on stage for 2 hours being one character maybe even like three or four but
Mhm.
in the span of one conversation being five different people
Ooh,
that is something that I've never done before and now I know I can.
put that down on the resume. You
You know
did
what I'm saying?
you did
I need
it.
to update my LinkedIn.
Right, we'll be looking for it.
Thank you. Hold me accountable.
Right, we will, we will. So you've done so much. This is amazing. We can't wait to read the book and just learn more about it. I know it's available right now for purchase all over online. We can search it. So you've
Mhm.
narrated, you've made films, your own content, acted with greats. You've had this big part in Black Lightning, 8 episodes.
Mhm.
What's next for Miss Thomas?
Ooh, so I have actually we've been on strike and things have been slowing down for years, like aggressively slowing down, which isn't ideal, especially as I felt like my momentum was like, ooh.
Mhm.
Um, but what I've been doing, what I've been focusing on is a lot of independent work. I've had the opportunity to do like 6 or 7 short films plus like an indie feature. in the last couple of years, and now all of those are starting to hit festivals. So it's been really cool to like show up in Palm Springs or LA or wherever and be there to represent this movie that I was able to be a part of, where inevitably, because it's independent and often being made by friends of mine, I get to have a bigger part than I would if it was J.J. Abrams casting something.
Right.
For now, right? Like JJ is going to call me eminently, but as it stands, I am, number one, number two, number three on the call sheet for some of these projects. So just to be able
Mhm.
to watch the thing and then go and like shake hands and answer questions and talk to other people who are also embarking on their own to create something for themselves. It's
Wow.
been amazing.
Amazing stuff. At some point, we'd love to have you here at UConn School of Fine Arts speaking to students, but in the meantime, we'll have this interview. Thank you so much for your time. And I've learned so much about you. I am a fan.
You.
UConn School of Fine Arts. We are all fans and very proud of you. Please visit us again soon, and we'll be checking you out. We can go to your website, we
Mhm.
the book. We'll be following you for sure.
Please do. And thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. All right. Take care. Thank you.